welcome to Cosplay Stitch and Seam. I'm Pannon.
I'm V-Fire.
And I'm David.
Hi.
That was so quiet.
Wow. that was beautiful.
Thank you.
It's been quite a week, I feel like, since just last episode.
Like, not a lot has happened, but so much has happened at the same time. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've been in a garage having couples problems with my table saw.
Oh, no. I found out a new thing I'm allergic to.
What are you?
Yeah.
Are you able to say what you're allergic to at this point?
Yeah. Let me look up the name of it, because it starts with like cephalexin or something like that. But
Big medical
anyway.
words.
Yeah, I guess it's an antibiotic. Yeah, cephalexin is the name. But I guess it's got a very, very small percentage of people who have penicillin that will have a reaction to it. And I also have an allergy to penicillin, and I had a really fun night at the hospital going into anaphylactic shock. So that was great.
I am glad you are okay.
I am okay. I now have a prescription to carry an EpiPen in my purse, which is fun, I guess.
Huh.
I'm like, I don't think that's going to come up again, but I guess we'll see.
As somebody who should be carrying around an EpiPen, it just takes up so much space, and I have boy pockets, so like...
That's what purses are for.
Curse you in your boy pockets.
I need to start accessorizing a little bit more then, I guess.
Yeah. Never underestimate a good messenger bag, man.
Heck yeah.
They're very nice, and you can nerd them up, and
very
good.
Pannon would definitely know all about that.
Never.
They would. Not wrong.
Anyway, if you want to tell us about your latest accessories or what you've been working on, you can email us at cosplaystitchandseam@gmail.com or
you can go to the website, cosplaystitchandseam.com, and fill out the contact form there, or...
go to the Facebook page, and while you're there, share your progress. Let us know what you're working on. We would love to see what you are doing, and so would our fantastic community that wants to see you excel at whatever you're trying to do. And if you're not a big fan of Facebook, you can always go to our Discord server, where we have a really great small, and I mean like it's a pretty big group, but it's not moving. So you can always catch up with chat. It never seems like you've missed a whole lot. I know when we went to SakuraCon, I did not check the Discord the entire time, and it took me maybe 20 minutes of my flight to check back in and make sure, like, all right, anything wrong? All right, you guys are golden. Join our Discord server. We've got Work in Progress Wednesdays. We've got Horror Story channels. We've got Finished Fridays, so you can tell us everything that you're working on. We would love to see it. And while you're on the internet, if you would like to help out the show, we would greatly appreciate it. The many different ways that you can do that is, one, tell a friend. That's the easiest, simplest way. Let's more people be invited to our cosplay group, and we would love to see more people crafting along with us. And if you've got a little bit of time, you can always leave us a rating and a review on Apple Podcast, on Spotify, on Audible, on wherever they let you. We really appreciate that. And we'll even give you a shout out on the show when that happens. And if you've got a few bucks laying around, we would really appreciate helping keep the lights on. We do have a coffee account, KOFI, Cosplay Stitch, and we have a Patreon, patreon.com/Cosplay Stitch. For $3 a month, you get a shout out every single episode. And for $5 a month, you get to join our Cosplay Chronicles. Every single month, we play a
I think
live
I sound like
D&D.
Toad. I just realized that every time I do that, I sound like Toad.
Every single month, we do a live stream of our D&D game, and you can even affect the tides. Sometimes it's choosing items for players. Sometimes it's choosing enemies. Sometimes it's choosing really bad puns. Other times, it's just being along for the ride and making jokes with the people at the table. So anything that you can do to help us out, we always appreciate it.
Yay! And if you'd like to help out a fellow cosplayer who is providing y'all with some great makeup, you can check out foxbeauty.store. They still have the promo code Stitch and Seam if you'd like to get 10% off your purchase of all vegan, not tested on animal products. We got some awesome eyeshadow palettes out. Did you end up getting that one, Mercedes?
Oh yes, it's gorgeous.
Ooh, yes.
I
I
love
want to
it.
try it. Got to do another makeup episode soon.
I know. I just like
Yeah.
I haven't used them yet. I just stare at them. But like I also like messaged Fox and I was like, "Can you like send me some makeup tutorials?"
Yeah.
And I'm gonna try some soon. It's gonna be great.
Excellent. So, Mercedes, you want to tell us what today's episode is about?
Yes, I am super excited. This episode topic was sent in by the wonderful Alex X Angel Design.
Yay!
Much appreciated. They actually sent in a huge list of suggestions, and so I was like, oh, these are all really good. So, we are going to be talking about skits versus walk-ons, and kind of like how to approach those for cosplay contests, as well as, I mean, I know we've kind of like talked about these in the past, so this would be a little bit of a refresher, but at the same time, kind of like taking a different approach to it of like, how do you handle this if there's just one of you on stage versus multiple, and what do you want your goals to be for that on stage? So, yeah, that'd be kind of fun to like revisit that and go a little bit more in depth.
Yeah, I feel like it's been a long time since we did one on performance, so I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, stage always gets me like super scared, so.
No!
And I have experience being on stage now, so
Yay!
yay!
Yay! So V-Fire, you mentioned like thinking about what goals you have when you're entering the contest. What do you want to expand on that a little?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, ooh, sorry, now I gotta organize my thoughts. So like, when I enter a cosplay contest, this is from my point of view, you know, like, sometimes it's, oh, I really just want to experience this contest. And then it's like, okay, I've picked a character. What do I want to do with this character now? And trying to figure that out from there can be exhausting. And so knowing what you want to do with your character on stage, like coming up with that goal of like, do I want to tell a story with them? Do I want to show off their moves? Do I want to, you know, like, what do I want to do with this character? I ask myself those questions, and then I'm able to answer, okay, am I doing a skit or a walk-on? And that usually comes down to how much time do I feel like I can fill?
I mean, that's a fair point. No, I think that's like one of the hardest things is the getting started. Like, are you making a skit or a walk-on based on like after you've chosen and made your costume, or are you making this costume specifically because it fits for the idea of a skit you had?
And it may be different just like every time that you go up there. It, you know, because like I've had moments where like I've made a costume specifically for a skit, and ones where I've been working on the costume, and at the same time I'm like, what am I going to do on stage? What am I going to do on stage? And then suddenly I'm walking on stage and I'm like, what am I going to do on stage?
Oh man, for real.
I've been there.
So that's definitely something to keep in mind. I would also like add to that, like personally, like with your performance, are you looking to like try for a performance award? If your contest offers a walk-on award, are you looking to try for that? Are you just wanting to show off your costume? Are you there more for craftsmanship? Like what is drawing you to the contest? Are you just wanting to tell the story about your character? Like any of those are fine answers.
And you don't have to just pick one question to answer. You can take multiple of those. Like, you know, let's say you're doing a walk-on and you want to tell a story, but also, you know, you're aiming for that craftsmanship award, right? And so you want to tell a story, but also make sure that like you're moving around on stage that's showing off the, you know, functionality of the costume, every angle of the costume, every, you know, just kind of like, you know, if you're proud of the craftsmanship in your dress and how it flows, flow it on stage.
And I mean, seen at least a few contests now that are more accommodating to those who aren't comfortable being on stage, and they'll let you enter for just performance. You don't have to go on the stage if that's something that's going to cause you like anxiety or to stress out. You can still enter cosplay contests without appearing on stage, which I think is pretty cool.
Did you mean just craftsmanship?
Uh-huh.
Okay. You said just performance.
Well, you can do both. Yeah, Bonsai let you do just performance and no craftsmanship.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Absolutely. You can definitely do just performance. I've seen people do that with like costumes where they didn't make the required percentage. Like maybe they bought most of it or it was commissioned by a friend, but they still wanted to show it off on stage and they still wanted to they were interested more in the performance aspects and like telling a story about the character than they were about entering it for craftsmanship, which either one is really fun.
Sick dance moves.
Oh my gosh, those are so fun too.
Yes.
But yeah, I guess the first step is finding out what you're comfortable doing on stage and what your goals are toward being on stage. If you just want to show stuff off, if you are telling a story, if you're doing a walk-on. Yeah.
Definitely.
So should we start talking walk-ons first?
Yeah. Let's do that. I like walk-ons.
Okay.
They're short, sweet, to the point, and you're off stage and you're like, oh, thank goodness.
I was going to say, why do you like them? But there it was.
There it is, yes. That's exactly why I like religiously did those for so long. Because it's like 30 seconds or 45 seconds, maybe a minute, you know? Yeah. But it's like, it's just short and sweet. And it wasn't until I started getting in over my head with the storytelling that I was like, I need to stop doing walk-ons.
Yeah. I think it depends too on like, does your cosplay contest award walk-ons? Do they have like a best walk-on, or is that walk-on included as part of your performance, or is the walk-on just to show off your costume?
Yeah.
Because I think the way you approach your walk-on is going to be different depending. If it's just one to show off your costume, then I think you should stick with stuff that makes you most comfortable, stuff that makes you most excited for the parts you're showing off of your costume. Because that's really what the judges want to see. Even if you're just entering craftsmanship, they want to see how that costume moves. They want to see how well it like strikes those classic character poses. They want to see if you've taken things like what it's going to look like under stage lights into consideration. Like if you're wearing a idol pop singer costume and it has all these sparkles and glitter that light up when you're under stage lights, that's going to have a better impact, you know? Mm-hmm. So it just depends on what your purpose is. If you're doing one that's for competition, where they actually will do like a best walk-on. So if you're doing it for competition, you're probably going to want to plan your walk-on almost as meticulously as you would a skit, because that's kind of what it is. While you may not be like Mercedes and tell an entire story in 90 seconds.
I had 45 seconds for that.
45 seconds, sorry.
Shadow the Colossus in 45 seconds, and I did it.
Oh,
this is the most stressful 45 seconds of my entire life.
But you'll still want to think of the same sort of thing. Like, are you going to do character poses? Are you going to actually want to put your own flair on it, make it memorable somehow? I found that usually if you're doing a walk-on, like a walk-on only for your performance, and they do let you take that as part of your performance score, you'll still want to put something in there that feels memorable. And that, I guess, I don't know, for me with performance, the most important thing to me is to make my audience feel something, whether that feeling is like humor to make them laugh, whether I want to make them feel sad or happy or just like have positive feelings remembering the source material it's from. I want to try to like convey a feeling because that's memorable.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
You can also look up like what other people have done with that character, because you can find skits on YouTube or walk-ons on YouTube. There was the one time that I did Skyward Link, which that game uses the Wiimote to control Link. And so I had seen a bunch of skits where, someone would go up and they would mimic each other's moves, and, you'd have the player with the Wiimotes and then Link off to the side doing the same moves. And that was like really cool. But then I was like, I got to add a twist to this though. If I really want to do that, I need to add a twist to it. And so, we had in our 45-second walk-on, we had a phone ring, as part of the walk-on. And my brother, who was the player in our little walk-on, put the Wiimote up next to his head, like he was going to, use it as a phone. And so what was Link doing? Holding his sword up to his neck and being like, oh no! So like, look at what other people have done, find what you like, and then add your own twist to it.
Yeah. I think that's a good one, especially when you're thinking about solos. Because it can be so hard to feel like you're filling a stage when you're the only person on it. I feel like with groups that can be a little easier because you can have action that's the main action and then sub actions going on throughout the rest of the stage. But sometimes by yourself, you're just like, wow, it's just me out here.
Yeah, especially if you don't have a prop, because then you're like, what do I do with my hands?
Yeah, for sure.
I've been there. I get on stage and I'm like, hi. What do I do?
I think one of the biggest first timer, and even like I've seen this with veteran and beyond skits, or not skits rather, but walk-ons, is people who rush. One of the most important things is like giving your audience time to appreciate your costume, even if you're like sitting there counting in your head like 1, 2, 3 while you're holding your pose. I've seen people just go on and just like bam, 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 and they strike their pose for half a second and keep going. And I'm like, wait, no!
I wanted to see more of that.
So like just keeping in mind that like your audience really does want to see and appreciate your costume. And thinking about those character poses, even if it's like an obscure or not often seen character, making your own poses that feel natural for that character can really help breathe life into them.
It'll make people interested in like, what is that from? And then they'll come up to you after the contest and be like, what is this from? And then you get to tell them, and you get to get more fans of the thing that you love.
Yeah.
That was definitely my motivation with Hollow Knight. It was like, if more people need to ask me about this is a good thing in my mind.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
And then I ended up loving Hollow Knight.
It's so good.
But also, one of the things to think about is also what your music is. Like, what feeling are you conveying? Like, we talked about that a little bit, but even with your walk-on, like, are you doing, like, bubbly, cute poses for, like, a young, excited, energetic character? Or are you doing, like, really dramatic, heavy, emotional stuff with a, like, dark and brooding character? Or, you want your music to reflect that. Hopefully you're in a contest that lets you choose it. If you're not, that's another thing to think about when you're planning is like, okay, what things can I vogue strike a pose to that could like be to any sort of music versus like what feeling can I convey if I get to choose it?
No, I like that. I like that thinking a lot.
Yeah,
having to go to one where it's like that they're choosing the music beforehand, that to me is even more stressful because it's like I don't know what I'm going onto the stage with, it just adds like a different kind of vibe to it, and so you have to kind of think about it like, is this, and like hopefully you're not first going on stage for that. So you can be listening to the music and be like, oh, okay, so this has a fashion show vibe to it, so okay, I'm going on as Link, what do I want to do with that, and trying to like think of things like on the spot. And if you're feeling nervous about that, grab a friend, bounce the ideas off with them. It's really fun, or someone else in line.
On the topic of walk-ons, before we jump over to skits, we usually walk-ons are solo, but I have seen occasionally group walk-ons. There's usually at least one or two in a contest. The biggest thing I can tell you is to like plan out where you're standing next to each other. Because one of the things that can really trip you up and like make your walk-on look messy is if you are like stumbling over each other, if you don't know where you're supposed to stand in the group, rather than when you all solidly strike a pose together.
Yeah, and that's where like practicing beforehand is really good. Sorry, David, go ahead.
No, you're totally good. No, I remember you mentioning like giving moments to like really pause and allow everyone to like, you know, consume with their eyes the costume that you have before them.
Yes, good,
and like
good.
if you can choreograph two people working together and then pose with each other and still highlighting each other without blocking each other, then you have like a small choreograph, you have timing down, you show that like there's a lot more work than just we put these costumes together and we chose some music off of YouTube. Like you're showing dedication and that you are interested in trying to go forward and be better at something else, if that makes sense.
Definitely,
Very well said. With those groups, like, think about, with a walk-on especially, like, make sure that you're giving everybody their chance in the spotlight, so to say. So that way you each, you know, it's not just one person, like, taking over the whole thing, and making it even, because it is a group effort for that, and you're working together as a team.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Also like just to save your friendships in general, because performing together can be so stressful, and if someone feels like they're like not getting like a recognition or enough appreciation or stage time as other people, even though they're putting in as much work, it can be damaging to friendships, you know?
Oh yeah.
I always tell my students when, you know, I'm like, hey, we're going to do a team project. And they're like, no. And I'm like, I didn't say group project.
Aha.
Yep.
I always tell them it's like the difference between group and team. Group projects are obnoxious. You always get the one person who does all the work and all the rest are lazy and then they get zeros. Team projects, like working as a team means that you're looking at everybody's strengths and weaknesses and playing off of those. It's not all falling on one person, or you have the one person that's not contributing anything. You're working on each other's strengths and weaknesses and really focusing in on that. That's when you find a true like team effort there. And again, when you get on stage, you want to be able to show off everyone on your team. You guys are working together. Yeah. It's just awesome to see too.
Yeah. Should we jump over to skits?
Yeah.
My favorite.
Yay.
Oh, wait.
Good.
Wait, hang on one second. For one last thing for walk-ons too. It may not feel like it, but you know, try and use the whole stage. I know we've said this before, but I'm just kind of reiterating it. You know, try and use the whole stage where like I'll walk to the far end, farthest away from me first, then back to where I came out at, and then the center, and then leave. If that makes any sense to anybody. You might want to draw it out. I don't know. But I just try to use the whole stage, so that way I know I'm staying on the stage long enough for people to see my costume, and I'll pause at each of those points. I'll go to the first part of the stage, pause, do a pose, walk over to the other end, pause, do another pose, or flirt with the audience. That's also fun. And then go to the middle and save like your best pose for that middle one, and then leave. You know, so yeah.
I like it. All right.
So skits.
Well, first of all, like for you, Mercedes, what sets a skit apart from a walk-on?
They're longer.
That's it.
No, it's not really. Like, because they're longer, you can tell a more in-depth story. Like, I think in 45 seconds, 30 seconds, 15 seconds even, you can tell a small story. But it's not a very in-depth one, right?
Right.
Like, in 45 seconds, I was able to convey that Princess Agatha from Twilight Princess is a bug nerd. You know, it's just using her lines from the game and making it into something kind of cutesy. You know, I was able to display what that character was for my sister, because she was cosplaying her. I was the extra in that one. But a skit, you know, if I was to do that with Princess Agatha, we could delve into a deeper storyline for her because we have more time to explore that character now. We could explore, why does she love bugs so much? And what does that kind of impact on her? Does everybody see her as the weird person in Hyrule Town, Castle Town? Wow, shame on me. Do they see her as the weird person, or is it just an adorable thing, or is she just completely oblivious? Is she walking around? Oh my gosh, I just came up with a skit idea just for this.
Oh my God.
You got Princess Agatha, but it's to the Beauty and the Beast song. But you got to change up the lyrics of, Belle's song from Beauty and the Beast. But you got to change it up to be about that bug girl. Oh, I love this. Okay. Stuff like that. There you go. I need this in my life now. Hey, Lexus, if you're listening, we need to remake Agatha and do this.
So since we're talking about like longer format storytelling, how do you like decide what story to tell? Like, what is the simplest story you can tell? Like, what theme do you want? Like, how do you decide that?
The way that I did it is since mine was based off a video game, I kind of looked at what songs are related to this character or help shape the narrative that leads up to this character. And I wanted to choose all 100 and whatever tracks because they're all just bangers. But I had to kind of like think narratively of like, okay, if I'm going to tell a story, we start with the opening, and what's the beginning of everything? There's always an introduction. So we started with the introduction song, and then knowing the arc of the character. Spoilers for Hollow Knight. It is quite a few years old, so I don't feel terrible. But the premise is you got to go fight a bug god, and it's pretty dope. And so I took the end theme, the last major fight of the entire game. No matter what ending you're playing, that's usually the main one. And so it's like, okay, then we can fill in the gaps. I know we have a start, we have an end, and we can throw in some maybe that character's specific song and do some maneuvers around to it, have some extra sound effects from the game to continue to build that narrative. And I felt like because Hollow Knight doesn't have very accessible lore, like it's there, it's just you got to think about it. I felt like by doing it is a deep dive. Yeah, you got to like do a couple Reddit skins and then some YouTube, video essays about it. I felt like doing something like that allowed it to kind of keep the motif of that unknown story of what is happening with very little words, but still convey the character arc all through physical motions and very few dialogue moments.
I like that. When I did a solo skit for my Samurai Raichu, I was agonizing over what to do on stage because I have a really hard time doing solo stuff. And the night before, I grabbed the audio for Greased Lightning and just like choreographed a short little like silly skit to it because it's music that a lot of people know because it's like pop culture.
Yeah.
And you can make the connection of, oh, Greased Lightning, it's Raichu. I get it. Haha. And I just kept it really short to get the like joke across and have fun. And I ended up winning like awards for it at Anime Los Angeles, which was very surprising to me. But, it was really fun.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have
surprising to any of us.
It's a clever mashup.
But like you can absolutely like pour a lot of like time and lore and detail into it, and you can also do something off the cuff and silly. Both like have their own challenges for sure.
I was gonna say inspiration for it can come at like any moment too.
That is so true. I am a last minute inspiration person.
I got lucky with the Bastion one because like originally B Tyrant and I for our Bastion skit we actually were originally going to do Castlevania off the Netflix series. And so we had already like kind of started planning some stuff, but we just couldn't think of a skit idea. And it just, nothing was vibing with it. We knew we wanted to make the costumes, but we had no stage idea at all. And then I was sitting down and I was playing Bastion, and I've tried to play Bastion on the computer, and the keyboard and mouse I just could not do. So I got the limited run edition on PlayStation. And so I was like, yeah, I'm going to play with the controller and this is going to be great. And I played through the thing in like all in one sitting. It was intense.
Dang.
You know, spoilers also, it's been out for 5 ever. You know, you get to the part where you have to choose what to do with Zolf. There we go. I was like, why did I forget his name? Oh my gosh. I'm doing great today. I am a fan. Yeah, it's like, what do you do with Zolf? And I was crying. And I called up B Tyrant, and I was like crying on the phone. And I was like, I found this character that I think you'll like. He's got a dumb jacket, and you like jackets and dumb boys. And I'm crying over this scene. We need to do this on stage. And we were able to I'm really glad that we figured it out like months before we were going to go on stage with this, that we wanted to tell that story. Because it took us actually a long time to get what we wanted, like planned out and within the timing that we needed to get the story across. And it was awesome. You know, there's definitely parts of that skit where I was like, I could have done better on that part, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. And B Tyrant actually thinks I am secretly trying to kill her because of that scene. And also, our next skit idea, I full out have her character killed. So,
well, and I think that's good though, that like sometimes you have to accept that the plan you originally had just isn't going to vibe with a skit, or you're not going to be able to find a story that you want to tell with those characters. And that I've had that happen a ton with like the WCS skits that we did. I know the year after we did Sailor Moon, we were actually planning to do Final Fantasy IX, and I've been working on like my Princess Garnet dress, and we had gone back and forth so much though about like what story can we tell with these characters, like what are we trying to get across here, like what will be interesting to the audience, and we just could not come up with anything. And it wasn't until we found like some music and a show that we were like, oh, this is really like has some cool dramatic vibes and it would match really well with this song that we found. And so we ended up changing to something that like had a better impact and had, I don't know, more fun and exciting costumes. And we were able to do a whole lot more exciting things on stage. And it ended up turning out really well. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's okay to change up things. Just be careful about the timing of changing up things.
Yeah, please don't change it like a week before or you will cry.
You will cry. Yeah.
Assuming that like the con will even let you make changes. Like, nope, you sent in your music, it's set. You gotta make it work.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really excited for this next one that we're going to do. We still have to plan it out, but we know what scene we want to portray.
Good.
And if it works out the way I think it's going to be beautiful.
Speaking of scenes you want to portray, that actually moves into another thing I wanted to talk about, which is making your skit accessible. Like, if someone who has never seen the video game or TV show or movie that you are cosplaying from, are they still going to understand?
Yeah.
Is the scene too iconic, or like you have to have played it to understand the nuance of the scene? Or is it something that people can go, oh, I understand that this is the knight and this is the princess and this is how they're interacting in this scene? Or is it, yeah.
I was going to say, on that note, for anyone who's doing like beginners, like first time going on stage, second or third time going on stage, and you're just like kind of getting that experience right now, start with a simple story. Start with a simple, what does your character want? You know, like they say that for writing, right? It's like, how do you start that first chapter? Well, what does your character want right now? They want food. They want a drink of water. You know, and it could be just something as simple as that. And once you start portraying those simple stories, you can start getting into those more in-depth ones, and you start realizing, oh, okay, so this is a complex story with, you know, bells that represent necromancy and da-da-da-da-da, you know,
Mm-hmm.
oh, here's a simple way that I can portray that, you know, bringing it down into, oh, if I just kind of like give a simple explanation,
Mm-hmm.
then I can create a build up with the information that I'm giving the viewers without having to go all the way in depth about the creation of the bells and where they came from and
Sure.
why these characters are important. But instead, you know, you can focus on one aspect of the series that you like, rather than trying to delve into the whole thing, which as a nerd is really hard for me to do.
It's so hard to limit yourself down. Like I said, there's like 200 great tracks on Hollow Knight and all its DLC, and you want me to choose like enough that will fit into a 3-minute skit? It can't be done. It can't be done. Can't be done.
Nope. Shadow Colossus in 45 seconds. Never doing that again. And that was something I changed the week before.
Uh-oh.
I'm never doing that again. Lexus and Matt, thank you for saving my butt on that. Lexus was my dead person and Matt was my background stage ninja.
Nice. One suggestion, and you actually mentioned this yourself earlier, Mercedes, was to get friends to help. Like,
Yes.
if you aren't sure if your script is like accessible, if people are going to understand what's going on, send it to a friend, perform it for a friend. Which
Get a friend who knows and one who doesn't.
Yeah, which can be like super intimidating. I totally get that. But in the end, it's going to give you some really valuable feedback. It's going to like catch little problems before they become big problems. It's going to help with your audience understanding the skit. Yeah, I would never say no to like feedback of any kind. Well, not any kind, but feedback on your skit from someone you trust.
Constructive feedback. And understand the difference between constructive and destructive.
Yeah.
If it's not solving a problem or helping or making you, well, it doesn't always have to feel good, but if it's making you feel absolutely terrible, it's probably not constructive. Yeah. If the answer is that's dumb, well, that doesn't
you
help at all.
You asked the wrong person, I guess. Aw, that is, But yeah, I like to, when it's still in the script phases, like send it to a couple friends that I trust to be like, hey, does this make sense? Does it flow okay? I get really shy myself about like actually performing in front of friends before the actual performance itself, but it's really helpful to do that. Like, I've noticed that the things I have rehearsed a lot, the things I have like gotten reviews on, tend to go a lot better in the performance part, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think I should try that. I might try that. I'm now getting excited to work on this skit again.
Good.
I need it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like thinking, who could I perform in front of? Oh, Sadie's never read this book, and my mom hasn't. Oh, they would be fun to get input on.
Good. Excellent. Very good.
Excellent.
That can especially be helpful with, like you're saying, with fandoms that are more obscure. Like stuff people may not know that there are a book series about necromancer bells.
Yeah.
which is really cool. And if you haven't read them, they're very good. But not everybody knows about them.
The book is Sabriel. And the audiobook is narrated by Tim Curry, and it's delicious.
Another thing I've seen people do when it is like an obscure fandom is they don't necessarily try to tell a story from the canon. They'll just try to like make it a fun, believable moment with the characters.
Yes.
Or if there isn't necessarily a storyline to the characters, like say you're doing something from a mobile game where it's just like these fun gotcha characters and they have cute costumes. How do you do a skit to that? Like when they don't necessarily have a backstory. And just being able to put together like cute comedic routines can be fun. If you want to like create a story to tell between two characters, there was one that did that actually just this year at Anime Los Angeles. I wasn't judging or in it, or I was just like helping run things, but there was a skit that did Sakizo, and those that know Sakizo know it's like a lot of really beautiful art, but there's not necessarily story behind it. And they made it into a cute love story between two of the characters, where one was trying to confess to the other one, and just kept missing opportunities. And by the end, when they finally did confess to them, like you actually felt some emotion, because you know they'd gone back and forth so much, and they had created their own story to it, and so it was really fun.
That's awesome.
I love that kind of stuff too, because it shows like your love of the characters, and you can throw like, you don't have to get caught up in the canon. Yeah,
and I've even seen some like that for like World Cosplay Summit. They'll do stuff from like various mobile games or art books, things that don't necessarily have a lot of canon, and they'll still put together like cute magic performance for characters that were witches, or they'll put together like a cute dance routine for ones that look like pop idols, or you know, they still create their own story for these characters. Even if you don't like know the canon, you still are able to like understand the character.
Yes.
Yeah. These are all good, helpful things, as I never compete again, so I have a 100% success rate.
Okay, my boss played Fortnite once and won, and so he will never play again because he can now boast that he has a 100% win rate.
Oh my gosh.
I'm telling you, it's perfect.
I'm like, maybe I should do that. I haven't played that yet. Boast that to my students. I have a 100% win rate. No, I love that. You experienced it, David. You're good not to experience it again. That's good.
I want to experience it again. That's for sure. I just like being able to say that I have a 100% success rate right now. I know it won't last.
Excellent.
But
okay. You'll have to let me know when you get your next inspiration, because I am all here for it.
I will.
I do want to, like, as we're wrapping up, since we've all done since we've all done like solo performances for cosplay contest, what was the hardest part about it, and what advice would you give to other people maybe that you learned that either went well or went poorly?
So actually, you two actually have this one up on me. I've only done solo walk-ons. I've never done a solo skit. I can't do them. So what is your advice, guys?
my biggest advice is, if they have a dry run, go and do the dry run. Because at Bonsai last year, I didn't know that there was a really giant TV behind me, and I had a big giant headpiece, and I couldn't see behind me that well.
Oh no.
And you can see in the video, there's a moment that I turn around and I'm like, ah! I didn't know I was that close. Because in all of my rehearsal, I did it in my basement, which had a slightly longer quote unquote stage area. So I felt really confident with those steps. And when I turned around, I didn't realize how close I was, but I made it look really natural as I like walked backwards, cowering in fear kind of thing. So that's my first big piece of advice, is to, like, you know, if you can do a dry run on the stage, definitely take advantage of that, because more practice is not a bad thing.
Yeah. I would say one of the things that helps me not feel as alone when I'm doing a solo performance is to have something that I'm interacting with. Whether there's like a set or like a prop or something I'm knocking down, or
interact with the audience, flirt with them.
The audience, absolutely. Just to have something that I'm interacting with, because if it's just me walking across the stage, I feel really like dull. But if I have something that some action I'm doing, something I'm interacting with, I really like, I feel like it gives the skit more life. I I am a giant nerd, and I love like sleight of hand, and I like little like tricks and things you can do on stage. And so I have a lot of have like a bin in my closet that's just full of like dumb little like sleight of hand magic that I like to do. So if I'm doing like a performance on my own, I have done stuff with like minor stage magic because that is fun to me. And I feel like it brings something that you wouldn't necessarily see with just like posing or interacting with a prop. But that can also be really hard to work in because you want it to be something that you can see from the stage still. So it just depends on how big your audience is.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. If you're doing a solo walk-on, because again, I haven't done a solo skit, but now I have ideas for them based on what you guys have just said. So I'm like, okay, maybe that's not so bad. Using the whole stage and making sure you're showing off what you wanted to show on stage and giving it the proper amount of time for it without, overdoing your stay. But that's where, practice and timing beforehand helps so much.
Yeah.
And if you can, get a stage ninja and have them like
that
have a ghost
so much.
and fight a ghost on stage.
Fight a ghost, yes.
I'm just kidding.
Do it.
Dude, I saw this thing on Reddit the other day where this person is dressed up as a character from Dota 2. I've played Dota 2. I don't know this character, but she summons ghosts in the game. And it was like this fashion show style, like walk down the walkway kind of thing. And she's walking down, she's owning it. It's great. And she has this sheet ghost following her. And it's like, it's not how the ghosts look in the game, but it's great. And she gets to the end of the walkway and just epic poses. And the sheet ghost just flails its arms and runs around her in a circle. And
Incredible.
It's the best thing ever. Oh, and then they just walk off stage all serious.
Very good. Very good. Well, do we have any horror stories for this week?
Horror stories. Spooky, spooky, spooky.
Yeah, we do have one on our Discord server. This one is from Sakura Rogan, and this one says, while doing some non-cosplay fixing recently, I was reminded of a time earlier some of you that were there might remember. This story should be called How a Prop Broke and So Did My Heart.
Oh no! Oh.
Without much ado, here you go. This is when I was making my first armor build and living in a house where the basement is at least 10 degrees colder than the rest of the house. I was able to finally get some thermoplastics for this build, and after developing what skill I could for it. While I was working on the spear for this build, the wood part for the base was starting to work as intended.
Yay.
I had procured a collapsible broom handle for its effect. It came time to glue the different materials together, and nothing I tried was working. I got it eventually, and it was painted and finished. Fast forward to Bonsai and time for judging. This point, I was extremely exhausted after having to stay up to craft for a week just to finish and felt a cold coming. Oh, honey, no.
Oh, no.
I could barely move in the armor and hardly think straight. Towards the end of judging, the spear was put down for a moment, only to fall on the floor and break on the thin joint where I was having those issues before. My heart broke at the sound, and I took it to the repair booth after. Me and my cosplay partner at the time tried to get it repaired and only held for a short couple of hours till we put it down to fix something, and someone unknown swings a door right close to where it was, and it broke again.
No!
For now, it is still in the state and will be fixed properly here shortly as time permits. What I learned from this is to make sure what you build needs time, as well as make sure your glue is up to the job.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you for sharing that, Sakura Rogan.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that heartbreaking moment.
Uh-huh.
You're just like, no.
I've absolutely had that. I had a staff once where it was for Seymour from Final Fantasy X, and I was so proud of it. And I was going into the bathroom to finish putting on my costume, and I leaned it against the wall, and then it fell, and it broke before I even got to wear it to the con center. I was so sad. Oh no!
Oh.
Anyway, if y'all have a story you would like to share us about your cosplay horror stories or your successes, or just tell us what you're working on, you can go ahead and email us at cosplaystitchandseam@gmail.com or
go to the website, cosplaystitchandseam.com, and fill out the form there. I keep wanting to say googly Google form, and that's not what it is anymore.
I know, it's so weird.
Or...
So before I go into my spiel, I took a phone call at work today, and my brand new boss walks up to me and he goes, "David, you have a very soothing voice. I would like to listen to more of your voice. This is a good thing." And I was like, all right, that's a bit weird. And I said, "Oh, if you would like that, you could definitely go to one of my podcasts." And he goes, "Oh yeah, tell me more about it." And I said, "Well, you can join our Facebook page. And while you're on the Facebook page, tell us your work in progress Wednesdays. We would love to see your progress. If you're not a big fan of Facebook, we totally get that. We have a Discord server where you can share said cosplay horror stories. And if you want to help out the show, tell a friend. We really appreciate that. Or you can leave us a review and a rating on Apple Podcast, on Podchaser, on Audible, and now Spotify. So those are always going to help us out with the algorithm. And if you've got a couple bucks laying around, you can leave us, give us some money. Now I'm flubbing. I did so much better in person. I did this immaculately in front of my boss. You can leave us, you can give us some money by going to Ko-fi, K-O-F-I, Cosplay Stitch, or our Patreon. And some of the amazing people that we need to thank is Rose Does, Livy Cheney, Yggdrasil, Dr. Steggy, PB and James, Cynics, at Queer Eye Sci-Fi, Hot Riku, Renamira, Jazzy Kofad, Jaguar Queen, Gloria Shu, Sudi, Shock H, and Silver Beads.
By the way, speaking of the Ko-fi, so we did hit our goal on there for a coffee episode, and so thank you, Katie Does Cosplay. You're awesome. We will be having that episode come up here soon, so keep an ear out for it, where I will be quite delightful.
I'm so excited. As always, if you want to check out Fox Beauty Cosmetics, you can do that at Fox, FOXXbeauty.store. Use the promo code Stitch and Seam to get 10% off your purchase of all vegan, not tested on animal products. Thanks as always to Macy Roberts for the use of her music as our theme song, and David Jeffress for his amazing editing. How are those podcasts going, David?
Ooh, yes,
Last Voice
tell.
Season 2! Last Voice Season 2!
Hype,
Check it out.
hype.
Got a couple episodes out at the time of this coming out to you guys. I really hope you're excited for what changes and big things are coming from The Last Voice Season 2. I'm really excited about it. And if you enjoy comic books and you want more of a kind of a deep dive and thought-provoking story, I cried during the last recording of Comic Trades Monthly with my co-host Dane. It was such a great episode. And to make ourselves feel better for next month, we will be reading all of Deadpool from 2009 to 2013.
Oh my goodness.
It's an endeavor, but we're committed because we love telling the stories. So go check that out on Comic Trades Monthly.
Yes. Excellent.
I am excited.
Thank you.
Good. Hey, Mercedes.
I'm ready. I'm here. What's up?
You got it? You ready? You ready for this?
I'm bracing.
I know how much you like props, and I tried to come up with a carpentry pun that would work. I think I nailed it.
Oh. You're just saying that because of all the woodworking I've been doing this week.
No.
Bye.
Bye.